Hey guys, welcome to today's educational video. I want to start dropping content like this a bit more consistently going forward. So if you guys have any topics, any things that you struggle with on, just when it comes to training and nutrition, and hitting your goals, feel free to either comment below or send that to me, and I will definitely put up content to give you the answers that you need, give you value, and help you to educate yourself to reach your goals and also to keep that in the longer term. Okay, so for some of you who may or may not know, I am an online coach that focuses on training and nutrition, helps women and men lose fat, gain muscle, and achieve the body of their dreams, while not doing anything restrictive uh, or extreme dieting or yo-yo dieting and all of that. So the whole base of my training is sustainability, and that's what I'm going to be talking to you guys today about, particularly during this Christmas season. And during this festive season when there's so many celebrations that are happening, there's so many like gatherings, um, how do we still stay on track and stay on top of our goals now? And what does that look like for you? What are some tips and tricks and things that you can already implement now and you can look out for in the next couple of weeks? Because now we have Christmas like in less than 2 weeks. After that, you have New Year's, and then shortly after that, you have Chinese New Year. So it's back to back to back. And before you know it, you don't want to reach like March or like February or March and then say like, okay, now I need to restart everything that I've worked so hard for. We want to avoid that. But at the same time, I want to teach you how you can still enjoy the holidays and still enjoy your meals now. So that's really important as well, because when it comes to training and nutrition and just like dieting on a whole, right? The problem that people have is not losing weight or losing fat. It's really keeping that fat off in the long term. If I tell you right now, you know, that you're going to go on a restrictive diet and you're going to lose fat, you will more or less be okay with it. Maybe you can keep it up for, I don't know, a few weeks, maybe a couple of months. But if I were to check back with you in a couple of years, that's that's where it's really important, because you always see like before and after photos of people being posted on Instagram, on Facebook, and all of that. But you don't see after photos. What happens to them 6 years down the road? Do they still look that lean? Do they still look, do they still look that way? Usually the case, the answer is no. And to give you the fact of the statistics, right? 95% of diets fail, meaning that people put the weight back on after they lose it. They have no problem losing it, but they put the weight back on and they put on more. So that's worrying. And I can go into the science of all of that in the next video. But today I really want to give you guys, just handles that, will be useful for you going into the Christmas weekend and beyond. Okay, especially when it comes to gatherings, festivities, and all these different things. So the first thing I want to start off with is that realize that it's just a few days, and you're not going to undo all the hard work that you've put in just a matter of days. Okay, if you look at it and you think about it realistically, Christmas is one day. Potentially, you have a couple of days of dinners and lunches, maybe even planned. Say you have four such of these events planned in the next, I don't know, 2-3 weeks, right? That is still, if I'm looking at it, today is the 14th, 17 days to the end of the year. 4 of these days, maybe you have dinners planned. So that leaves you with 13 days, out of the rest of the period that there isn't any dinners planned. So it is not possible, really, for you to undo everything in just 4 days, especially if you have been already on a program and you have already been consciously trying to make changes to your diet and your training. It shouldn't be something that you can, just switch off and fall off like that. That's not sustainable. And I just want to just remind you guys that it's just 4 days. So that's the first thing, okay? Secondly, is that your body has defense mechanisms in place to sort of defend against any weight loss, any weight gain, sorry, Okay, so things like, for example, if you start to eat more, your body burns more through the thermic effect of food, meaning TEF means that the more you consume, the more your body actually expands to process that food. Okay, so this is higher for more unprocessed foods, like your meats and your fresh vegetables and produce and all of that. And it tends to be lower for things that are unprocessed, right? So for example, if you really are consuming more food, technically your body has this way of trying to defend against any potential weight gain by ramping up, right? How much it burns through just eating more, because it needs to process that and digest that, right? And that takes energy as well. So that's the first thing, okay? The second thing is that not all calories that you eat are going to be absorbed. So this is linked to the previous point. Again, unprocessed foods are, less easily absorbed into our bodies than processed foods. So if you are consuming a whole lot more during this period, and I mean, I'm not going to go into calories and all of that. That is still king. But if you are consuming a whole lot more of unprocessed foods, it is still lesser or harder for your body to process that and to digest that and to absorb that than unprocessed foods which gets then processed foods which gets absorbed very readily into your bloodstream and your body as calories. Okay, so that's the first thing, because not everything that you consume gets absorbed. And the third point would be your need, right, which is your non-exercise activity. Basically, when you overfeed or when you eat more than you need to, your body will basically just move around more, fidget more. It has more energy to do all these different things, to act as a defense mechanism to burn off these excess calories that you are consuming. So there are these things in place. It's not, your body's not stupid. It's not just gonna let you like, binge and then like put on all this unnecessary weight. So just something to keep in mind, okay? I think let's dive into, a bit more practical handles about how we can address this period. Okay, so a couple of things that I want to mention that are key. A lot of it centers around accountability. So these are definitely things that I handle and I manage with my clients already when it comes to their nutrition for this period. So it's something that I will look at for each and every one of them. Okay, and designing something specific for each one of them to help them deal with everything that they are struggling with and their challenges in this particular season, okay? Because that might look a little bit different for everybody, and especially depending on what part of their nutrition phase they are in. So the first one, the most basic one, it is design your environment. Okay, there is studies that show that, you don't even need a study to show this, but there are books and there are studies that show that, the minute you have something in your house, one way or another, it's going to end up in your mouth or in someone else's mouth in your family. It's basically going to get eaten. So the minute you have something in your pantry, in your fridge, anywhere in your house lying around, if it's there, you're going to eat it. So I would say that, like, most of my clients, it is not that they have more willpower than you. It is not that, they are, more determined, more motivated, or whatever word you want to use, right? It's really not that. We all have like a limited amount of like willpower and motivation. So it's really not that. But it is because they are better able to design their environment and to put themselves into situations that don't test their willpower as often. So basically, as James Clear, the author of like Atomic Habits, what he likes to say is make it easy. And how I would describe this is, if you are, I mean, during this period, there are a lot of like yummy foods and stuff. If you are stocking up your pantry, stocking up your kitchen with all these different things, you are going to make it difficult for yourself, and that's going against your goals, your values, and all of that. So you really need to make it easy for yourself, and how that starts is by designing your environment. Okay, so if I were you, I would audit every single thing that you have in your pantry right now, and ask yourself, is that moving you closer to your goals? Now, that said, I get that it's the festive season. There are a lot of things that we want to eat and enjoy, and that's fine. If you do want to eat it, right? But I'm saying don't stock up on it, and don't, like stock up leftovers, especially. Like if you want to eat, for example, like that candy, go to the store, get it, eat it. Whatever's left over, throw it away. If you're going to keep it and you're going to leave it in your pantry, you're going to eat it the next day and the day after that, right? But just to meet that craving, or to meet that, that desire to eat that particular food and not restrict yourself, you can definitely eat it, and then dispose of it right after that. Okay, so that is back to designing your environment. Keep things out of the house is also related to this. Okay, so secondly, and this is, I guess, what is fundamental for you to do, is basically for you to be very clear about what your goals are and weigh what is important to you. So a lot of people, come into this period and they get very stressed out, right? So that's normal, I suppose, for people that don't really have any guidance or any plan when it comes to their nutrition. But what's important is that you weigh what is important to you. You need to know basically what to do the rest of the day, that's going to leave you most fulfilled the next day. So, for example, if to you, spending time with your family is what gives you value, or what makes you happy, makes you fulfilled, and will leave you with little regrets, right? Then, and if that means having a meal with them without tracking your calories, without tracking your macros, then that is what is important to you. But maybe to the next person, you know maybe they have gone through their own journey with their bodies and with food. Maybe to the next person, actually um, taking ownership of their macros and their calories and not letting it slip during this period is what's important to that person. So you need to be clear what is it that is important to you, and also what will leave you the most fulfilled the next day, and also just guilt free the next day, right? Because we want to be very clear about this, and we want our decisions and our actions to align with who we want to become, right? If not, we are self-sabotaging ourselves. Okay, so that's really important. This could differ for different people. So for example, for you, it could mean not tracking for those few days. For the next person, it could mean maybe just tracking protein. Or for the next person, it could be tracking everything, right? So be very clear what is it you're after, and what you want to achieve during this period in time. And then it will be very easy for you to, map your specific behavior back to, your outcome that you want to see achieved. Okay. Yes. Okay. Next thing, very simple, is basically offering to bring healthy options to potlucks. So if you do have, potlucks planned with your friends, family, whatever it is, just be that person that offers to bring that healthy option to the potluck, right? Just having, I don't know, just having that particular option there, or just going out of your way to make that effort, right, already changes your mindset about like dinner and everything. You know that you are still going to be able to enjoy the company of your friends and family, but keeping in line with what's important to you, right? So again, this goes back to what's important to you, and yeah, just being very clear of that, because this is one of the biggest struggles that people who don't take time to identify what is key to them struggle with. Okay, now we're going to talk about, like, on the day off, okay, specific tricks. I don't want to call it tricks, but specific like handles, right? That will potentially benefit you, and that I'm going to recommend to all of my clients, that this is what they do. I mean, other than the things that I already worked through with them specifically, these are things that all of you guys can already implement that is going to be very useful. Okay, so the first one is, on the days where you have dinners planned, right? accept that, you're going to be probably less active during this period because you're busy running around buying Christmas presents, prepping this, prepping that, making sure everything's ready. You don't have as much time to get movement in. So start off the day intentionally with a 30-minute walk first thing in the morning. Okay. That will just help you get your steps up. And yeah, it's just an easy way for you to start off the day with the right mindset and really getting your steps in. Okay. If you can train even better, go ahead and train. If not, just focus on getting your steps up. Okay. For some other people who maybe struggle with maintaining their calories during this period, and if that's something that you want to manage during this period, um, look at your meals this way. Okay, like breakfast, lunch, dinner. Potentially the one that you're going to be spending with friends and family is going to be dinner. um, I would, if I were you, prioritize that as the most important meal of that day, and accept that it's going to be probably the heaviest meal, right? It's going to be maybe alcohol, it's maybe going to be cakes and all your roast beef and all those good stuff, right? It's going to be heavy. So how I would make sure that I'm still within my calorie goal for that day is potentially just implementing intermittent fasting strategy for these couple of days. Now, IF is not something that I will implement year round, and not just off the cuff recommend to everybody, but it is useful in these kind of circumstances when when you are sure, for example, that it is short term, and also that you are basically you gotta know the reason you're doing it, lah, okay? And if the reason you're doing it is because you are saving up calories for dinner, then I think that's perfectly fine. Okay. Otherwise, when it comes to doing this year round, that's a conversation for another time. But what I'm saying in this phase is, especially if you are, in a fat loss phase during this season, implementing an intermittent fasting regime until about noon will be useful to make sure that you don't exceed your calories on emotionally less valuable meals of the day, being breakfast and potentially lunch, right? um for the meal where you do break your fast, right, and you do have that first meal of the day, it could be before the actual dinner. I would really focus on loading up with protein and just high fiber vegetables and carbs. Okay, that's going to be the go-to. So protein and veg before that heavy meal. This is just like to encourage more satiety, just help you be full, okay, and tide you through to the next meal. Um, Lean protein and high fiber carbs or vegetables basically um, are in that order, right? Are going to produce the highest level of satiety, and I mean this can look different, right? So it could be you could either have like a huge salad with like a topping of chicken breast on it, or even a protein shake with a side of fruit, something like that. Um, so make this work for you. But what I would say is that this is a great hack, which I'm going to be using myself when it comes to just saving myself some calories, and making sure I still hit my protein goal for that day, and then keeping sufficient calories for dinner, because I know that that's the point. That's the one meal that I want to enjoy with my family and friends and not stress out over tracking macros and tracking calories and weighing my food and all of that. Okay. When it comes to dinner itself, okay, so this is the interesting part, right? When it comes to dinner itself, this is how I would approach it. Okay, if you are focusing on still trying to hit your calorie goal, or maybe even if you're not, right? If you are not trying to track, even more so, because that's when tactics like hand portioning is going to come in very key, which is something that a lot of my clients, before they move on to macros, if they are completely new to macros, they will start off with a hand portioning phase just to give them an idea about food and nutrients and calorie density and all of that, food volume and everything. um, my suggestion here is 3 to 4 palm sizes of protein. Start off that meal with 3 to 4 palm sizes of protein. That can be anything from your roast beef to your turkey, to whatever other meats you have there, right? So 3 to 4 good solid servings of palm-sized servings of protein, and about 1 or 2 fist sizes of veg, so the whole fist of veg. So that can be whatever, all sorts of veg. It's all welcomed, okay? So 3 to 4 palm sizes of protein, 1 to 2 fist sizes of veg. Fill yourself up with that for that main meal first. And that's a great trick. You know why? Because that's going to keep you full enough to almost encourage moderation without you feeling as though you are needing to, restrict and, just make the whole dinner unenjoyable. You still definitely want to have those yummy foods like those cakes or whatever you have it, right? I know I ordered like a best cheesecake that I'm gonna enjoy during that period, and alcohol and all of that. But if you fill up your tummy with majority of protein and vegetables, even on that meal, and then whatever is left, you can, have your pick, right? Whatever else is there. You're gonna be less, I don't know, gluttonous, right? Because you're just gonna feel less like what's the word I'm looking for? Like less restricted lah, and less like tortured that you need to go and like eat every single thing because you have been waiting for it the whole day. But just loading up with protein and veg is already going to encourage moderation naturally. Yeah, so that's a super easy trick which you guys can implement already. Okay, a couple of other things that I want to stress is you don't need to, please don't be one of those people that, the next day go and ramp up cardio and ramp up all your workouts and everything just to burn off your calories that you consume. It's not going to work, and it's going to wear yourself to the ground. So don't even bother doing that. The amount out of your total daily energy expenditure that comes from exercise is like 10 to 15%. So it's very minimal. Okay. For someone that exercises, if not, it will be less. Focus on your weekly, if you are, for example, in a fat loss phase, focus on your weekly calories and your weekly deficit. Okay, so that could look like having that one day where you are, even if you eat slightly above, right, your the deficit amount, the rest of the days you should try to even it out. Okay, so that weekly number, when it comes to protein, carbs, and fats, should be hit still. Okay, so that's important. Daily protein goal is still important as well. So weekly calories and daily protein goal should be your focus during this period. It gives you a little bit more flexibility such that you can, play around with your macros and move it over accordingly, especially carbs and fats. Yeah, so that just encourages a bit more flexibility. You have that weekly calorie goal to look out for, but you got to hit your daily protein goal. Okay, so that's important. Yeah, so again, that flexibility basically allows you to save up calories from the day before or the day after, and it just saves you from that, that like fuck this mindset where you're like, oh, like I already ate like 1,000 over calories beyond my goal. I'm going to just go there and go mad like the next few days because I have a couple of other dinners planned. But if you look at it from a week's point of view, even if you have a couple of days where it is above, if you manage the rest of the days and everything else is below your goal, you would still be in the green, right? So that's what you want to do. Yeah, and also don't starve yourself the next couple of days. Your body still needs food. So definitely a no-no, and don't do that. Okay. And the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with is during this period where you are busy, gathering your friends and people that you haven't met in a while, it is it's just basically something that happens is people tend to let training slip, and deprioritize, or like it just becomes lower on the priority list. But if you are committed to changing your body and to changing your lifestyle, make training a priority during this season and make sure that it does not slip. make time in your calendar, pencil that in and stick to that time that you have allotted for training. Make sure you get it done, because this is the period where basically people fall off and just revert to things that they are used to. But that doesn't have to be the case for you. And if you are serious, and if you really want to reach your body goals and your health goals, then just focus on making training a priority, and I assure you that you will already be way better and in a much better place come January, because you won't be trying to you know outdo or unwork all the things that you have sort of built up in the last couple of months. Okay, so very simple sort of tricks and tips and like hacks, if you may, or like handles basically, when it comes to Christmas and beyond. But these are things that you can utilize, honestly, not just during the holiday season. If you do have any periods in time where you have a bit more gatherings, you have a bit more activities, or social events, it's going to be very useful for you to use a couple of handles that I've shared with you today. Yeah, so I hope this helped, and feel free to like let me know if how it worked for you. Firstly, if you have any other things that you are going to implement that you feel um, everybody else can benefit from, feel free to share that below in the comment. Um, Otherwise, that's all I have for you today, and yeah, I look forward to sharing with you something else that can benefit you guys. Training, nutrition, mindset, all of that good stuff. Follow me on Instagram if you aren't already, and you can catch up on whatever other content that I do post, and have a read on that. All right, that's all. Have a good week ahead, guys. Chat soon.